Shrimp Jesus, fake movie posters on Amazon, AI houseplants on Facebook. If you've scrolled a feed recently, you've been hit by the deluge. This synthetic digital clutter has become so ubiquitous that Merriam-Webster and the American Dialect Society selected slop as their 2025 word of the year. Academic researchers define this slop by two primary characteristics: superficial competence, meaning it looks real enough at first glance, and asymmetric effort. Asymmetric effort means a scammer can prompt an algorithm and generate 1,000 synthetic posts in seconds, while it takes human moderators, fact-checkers, and users hours to sift through, debunk, and filter out that exact same material. This asymmetry does real damage. Spammers use generative AI to create fake images of Holocaust victims, attaching fabricated stories to them. The Auschwitz Memorial Museum issued a public statement to protect historical truth from being drowned out by automated spam. This high-volume production creates a persistent digital haze, where the sheer quantity of synthetic material crowds out human-made content across our feeds. Because we see so much of this junk, the word slop has mutated. What started as a precise critique of spam has morphed into a reflexive insult, deployed to dismiss any work made with generative AI. A study published by the National Library of Medicine tested how human bias affects our perception of digital imagery. Researchers showed participants two comparable images. If the subjects were explicitly told that one of the images was generated by AI, they automatically rated it lower in artistic value. Our cultural bias actively overrides our visual evaluation. This bias spills into the physical world. When organizers of the disastrous Willy Wonka experience in Glasgow used AI-generated marketing to promise a magical realm and then delivered an empty warehouse, it validated public distrust. We have to ask ourselves, are we using the word slop to accurately identify junk, or has it become a convenient excuse to avoid evaluating a new medium on its actual merits? To understand why so much low-quality content exists, we have to track the money. Scammers produce this material because it pays. 10 years ago, the internet was populated by content farms. These operations paid human gig workers pennies to write thousands of low-quality articles, gaming sync engines to collect digital advertising revenue. This flowchart illustrates the shift. On the left, human writers typing articles. On the right, AI models eliminate human labor costs. By automating generation, a single user floods ad exchange platforms with thousands of posts daily, securing revenue through sheer volume. These broken algorithmic incentives reward raw volume over quality. By prioritizing engagement at any cost, social platforms have turned AI into a calculated mechanism for farming the attention economy. There is an entirely different approach to generative tools. The intentional creator uses AI not to farm clicks, but to structure a narrative and impact an audience. A spammer types a single prompt and hits publish. A true creator builds a rigorous, multi-step workflow. This diagram contrasts the spammer's single line with the creator's iterative loop. First, establishing a fact spine and gathering references. Then, prompting. Forcing realism requires generating, rejecting, and refining. Dozens of broken generations are discarded to secure one usable asset. Once the visuals are secured, traditional human craft takes over. The creator writes the voiceover, builds the sound design, and sequences the story in a nonlinear editor. There's a strict ethical boundary here. Intentional creators explicitly label their use of AI. They do not attempt to deceive their audience into believing they are watching archival footage. The quality of the final output is never determined by the generative software itself. It is determined by the human intent, the standards applied, and the rigorous effort required to direct it. We are currently living through the messy, public prototyping phase of a brand new storytelling medium. If we reflexively scream slop at every new experiment, we actively discourage the exact people working to establish the craft, ethics, and standards of this field. Building a new discipline requires humans to take chaotic, unpredictable tools and force them into a structured narrative form. Labeling everything as slop skips the only question that actually matters. Was this low-effort junk, or was it directed work made with intent? We have to consider whether we are the first generation to reject a new technology as lazy and low effort, or if we are simply repeating a historical pattern. When the mechanical camera arrived, traditional painters were outraged, believing a machine pressing a button required zero skill or artistic vision. When the Moog synthesizer was introduced, classical orchestras protested, arguing that automated instrumentation devalued the embodied expertise of real musicians. When digital nonlinear editing software appeared, veteran film editors lamented the loss of the physical, tactile craft of cutting celluloid. Every one of these tools transitioned from a disruptive threat to a foundational medium of expression. Their legacy suggests that the ultimate value of a technology is determined by the humans who choose to master it.